Ever wonder what keeps an off-grid cottage running through the winter? From pantry upgrades to food prep, join us over a few days full of simple, rewarding tasks you won't want to miss. Winter mornings are quiet, but they're anything but lazy. Every morning starts the same: a trip outside to the bathroom, to the animals, then back inside to rebuild the fire. It's all about keeping the rhythm and starting with intention. A common misconception when living off-grid is that you have to grow every morsel of food you eat. The most basic definition of off-grid living is simply that you are not connected to the electrical grid. For us, living off-grid is much bigger than that, and it's also only one part of what we do here. We aren't striving to be 100% self-sufficient, but we want to be self-sufficient in more things. This looks like constantly learning new skills and building a life that we can actually maintain, which means we utilize the grocery store and prep meals ahead of time, so we aren't burdened by cooking 3 times every single day. Breakfast is usually pretty simple around here, but it's always something hearty to get us through the morning. Today I'm reheating sausage balls that I made and froze previously, and I'm serving them with eggs. You can find the sausage ball recipe on our blog, theoffgridhomesteader.com. We like to keep frozen breakfast options on hand at all times because it makes the mornings easier. Right now we have hash brown casserole, sausage balls, and a few pancakes in the freezer, but we will be adding a couple of things to that list later on. We are a few days into our No Spend January challenge, and there are some things we want to do to set ourselves up for success. First, we want to overhaul our pantry that has started to feel chaotic. We've been meaning to convert this section into drawers to store more and store everything better. Right now, everything just gets piled on top and becomes quite a mess. A pantry is the heart of any kitchen, but because we live so far from town, it's our lifeline. It's not really an option to drive to town just to go out to eat, especially this month. Every trip to town is planned out and takes a lot of time, so staying organized in the pantry and in our freezers is key. It's hard to use what you have when you don't know what you have. How many times have you gone to the grocery store and bought something and then later realized you already have that? The heart behind No Spend January is to use the food we do have, but you have to be able to see that food and know it's there. A while back we showed you how we reorganized our freezer, and this was one step in knowing what food we have. And not to be dramatic, but being able to clearly see what's in the freezer is life-changing. Soon we will be working on a project that will involve getting our canned goods in a place where we can see them better too. Since living in a tiny home, drawers have become very important to keeping organized. We've turned so many cabinet spaces into drawers, and I seriously don't know how we functioned before them. A drawer makes it so much easier to see what you have and easily put it back when you are done. Since our tiny home is not complete, we still don't have a home for everything, but that is what we are working towards, one project at a time. These pantry drawers are one project that will soon be crossed off of our very long to-do list. It's a little piece of progress and a reminder that the small things we do every day add up to something bigger. Because I've been working out in the cold today, Casey took on kitchen duty. She's been doing dishes and cleaning and turning one of our hams into lunch meat. When we decided to look at land to buy, it was because we wanted to take our homesteading to a new level. In the city, we weren't ever going to be able to produce our own meat. And 2.5 years into living on our land, we were able to raise pigs in the woods. Those pigs lived a great life, digging up roots and critters and eating every plant in sight. The day we took them to the butcher was hard, but it was what we set out to do. And we did it the best way we could. Because of those pigs, we have at least 2 years of pork in our freezer. And today we get to eat grilled cheese sandwiches with ham we grew on our property and jam we canned after picking raspberries at a local farm. Homesteading isn't always easy, but it's deeply rewarding to know the food on our plates reflects the life we have chosen to build.
Pretend you're doing something.
I am doing something. I'd like to think that after building so many drawers in our home that making them is a breeze, but I always end up having to make an adjustment or two. But at the end of the day, our pantry finally feels like it's coming together. Finally getting to organize everything in the drawers made all the work today worth it. A little bit of effort today saves us so much time tomorrow and beyond.
Oh my gosh.
Another way we stay ahead and save time is by prepping meals in bulk. We made this meatloaf a while ago, and there's a recipe for it on our blog. We are eating it with some leftover potatoes from the night before that I popped into the air fryer, and in minutes we have a full delicious meal ready to close out the working day. We have a big meal prep day ahead of us. We are trying some new recipes and restocking a freezer favorite. It may seem like we use a lot of breakfast sausage, but that's just because we have so much of it in the freezer, and we are very grateful that we do. Making sausage gravy at home is a treat, especially for Casey because we make it gluten-free, and you just can't get that many places. It can be used a few different ways, but we'll show you how we mostly eat it later. The sausage gravy is going into our freezer cube trays in 1-cup portions. Previously, we froze the gravy in half-cup portions so we could warm up enough for one person at a time. But I didn't have enough half-cup trays to fit all the gravy, so I'm freezing them with 2 portions each. 95% of the time, we eat the same breakfast at the same time, so it shouldn't be a problem. Freezing food in these trays makes storing our meals so easy. No trying to flatten a baggie or keep a soup from spilling out of a bag. As I've said in previous videos, these really changed the freezer meal prep game for us. There is rarely a time when we have empty trays, as we are always freezing leftovers or meal preps. I froze this loaded queso on New Year's Eve, and now I am taking the cubes out so this tray can be ready for our next meal. This is how we keep the freezer organized now. There are 6 storage bins that fit perfectly in our freezer, and as we put things in, we write down on the bin itself what it is. And when we take something out, we erase it. These bins fit the food cubes perfectly and has made having a slender freezer so much easier to live with. I'm cutting up 2.5 pounds of chicken thighs to make some teriyaki chicken. Asian food is a favorite in our house, so having this on hand will be something we love and will go great with our frozen rice stash. We ran out of chicken a while ago, so have been relying on the grocery store for this staple. We hope to ready our land better this year so we can raise meat chickens again, but for now it's just not possible. Just because we are spending the day meal prepping doesn't mean we don't have to keep up with other homestead chores. Where we live, it could be 60 degrees one day or 12 degrees the next, but it's been pretty cold, so the wood is being restocked every other day. Every piece stacked in our house adds up to another day where we can be cozy in our own home. Rarely do we get to feel the impact of a completed project so instantly, but we've already enjoyed having these drawers multiple times today. We can see everything we have and access it easily. We are bringing out the grain mill for another project. We do not mill wheat in here, but instead mill gluten-free grains. We are milling white rice and corn and then taking those two flours and mixing them with potato starch for our own gluten-free all-purpose flour. It is very exciting to us to mill our own gluten-free grains and be able to make a mix that we usually buy at the store. Gluten-free flour is considerably more expensive than regular flour, so this saves us money and gives us a fresher product that we can recreate over and over again as needed. We are using this flour right away to bake something else for the freezer. A few ingredients from the pantry come together with some shredded frozen butter. This is our attempt at making some lovely, flaky, gluten-free biscuits. While the biscuits bake, I am prepping a brisket for a crock-pot recipe we are trying out. This will be a complete meal that goes into the freezer, but first the brisket has to cook in some enchilada sauce, tomatoes, and peppers. The biscuits are finally done and they are golden and look perfectly flaky. We have tried so many gluten-free recipes in our 13 years of friendship, and I think this biscuit recipe takes the cake.
Which one do I want? Let's get over, please. So good.
It really is.
Get you some more butter.
So good.
Okay, go very good.
The sausage gravy is ready to come out of the freezer cubes, so I'm popping them out and transferring them to bags. The freezer cube rotation keeps going, and we will put these trays into the dishwasher so they will be ready for the next freeze. I'm keeping one cube out for breakfast this morning, and of course it has to be served with one of the biscuits. This is how we usually eat the gravy, in a bowl with a biscuit and an egg. It tastes delicious all together and keeps us full for hours. Now that the brisket is done, it's time to shred the meat and prepare other ingredients for the dish. The gluten-free noodles cook halfway, then the noodles go into the crock pot with the brisket, along with the cheese sauce I made in the blender. Once I mixed it all together, the noodles were al dente, so I decided to put it into the freezer trays at that point. We've frozen some gluten-free pasta dishes before that when reheated become total mush. We've already reheated this brisket mac and cheese and there was no mush, and we both really enjoyed this meal for dinner. If there's one thing we hope to encourage you with this week, it's to take a little time to care for your future self. Whether it's a freezer meal, an organized pantry, or just a plan for tomorrow, these small steps can make all the difference on busy days. Life feels a little lighter when you know you've got something ready to fall back on. So take a moment, prep something for future you, and enjoy the peace of knowing you've got one less thing to worry about.